nothing says functional democracy quite like occasionally turning off your entire government, like it's a pickup game where someone takes their ball and goes home. Except the ball is $6 trillion, and home is just a 41-day temper tantrum. Think of the US government like an NBA team, except instead of trying to win championships, they're trying to pass a budget. And when coach and management can't agree on whether to tank for draft picks or make a playoff push, they just end up being kind of mid indefinitely. Technically speaking, a government shutdown happens when Congress can't agree on a budget to fund the government. It's like when your team can't agree on who's taking the last shot, except instead of losing one game, you lose the ability to process passport applications. The key players in this game are Congress and the president. Congress holds the ball, basically controlling the budget, and the president can either sign it into law or veto it, which is basically the political equivalent of blocking a shot, except the shot is keeping the government running, and the block is your ego. And if your ego gets bruised, then over 1 million people don't get paychecks. Unless you're one of the lucky essential workers who have to show up for work, but still don't get a paycheck. So people like your park rangers, air traffic controllers, and border patrol agents get to work without pay because nothing says essential like you're so important we won't even pay you. It's kind of like being a first-round draft pick, but your contract is a pat on the back and bragging rights. It's crazy because government shutdowns weren't always a thing. Actually, before 1980, if Congress didn't agree on a budget in time, then government agencies just kept working. But then in 1980, some genius just invented it. The first real shutdown was in 1981 under President Reagan. It lasted 1 day. That's right, 1 day. It was like the government called a timeout, looked around and said, "Wait, this is stupid," and went back to work. If only they'd maintained that level of self-awareness. Since then, we've had 21 actual shutdowns. The 90s were particularly heated. The NBA had Michael Jordan versus Karl Malone competing for championships, and the government had President Bill Clinton and Speaker Newt Gingrich competing for who could be more stubborn about Medicare spending. We had 2 shutdowns in 1995 and 1996, totaling 26 days. Usually, you can expect a government shutdown to last about 2 or 3 days. Basically, the government equivalent of a player sitting out with load management. Short, annoying, but ultimately not the end of the world. But then you have the long ones. In 2013, the government shutdown lasted 16 days over Obamacare. The longest shutdown in US history was in 2019, and it lasted 35 days because President Trump wanted $7.5 billion to build a wall. So Trump did what any rational person would do when they can't get funding for their pet project. He held the government hostage for 35 days. It's like refusing to play defense until the coach agrees to let you take every shot. Now, this shutdown started in December 2018 and ran into January 2019. 800,000 federal workers were either furloughed or working without pay. National parks became trash heaps because there was no one there to empty the trash bins. TSA agents were calling in sick because apparently people don't love working for free. It was chaos. Beautiful, completely avoidable chaos. Trump eventually agreed to reopen the government without getting his wall funding, then declared a national emergency to redirect military funds to build it anyway. It's the political equivalent of losing a game, but at least your parlay hit. So you technically still won. Some might say he's delusional, others might say he's a master manipulator. Whether you like Trump or not, he's definitely going into the gaslighting Hall of Fame. In fact, Trump recently expressed interest in renaming the Washington Commanders NFL stadium after himself. Because nothing says my ego is bigger than yours, like trying to slap your name on a stadium in a city where you're historically unpopular. It would be like LeBron James trying to rename the Boston Garden after himself. Hilariously petty. But 2025 has officially broken the record for the longest government shutdown in US history at 43 days. Congratulations, America. We beat our own record. It's like the Detroit Pistons celebrating having the worst losing season in NBA history. Technically an achievement, but completely depressing. Here's how the government shutdown game works. In the first quarter, Congress fails to pass a budget by the deadline, usually September 30th, the end of the fiscal year, and if they can't reach an agreement by the second quarter, the shutdown begins. Non-essential employees are furloughed. Essential employees keep working without pay, which is absolutely as ridiculous as it sounds. And after each side goes to regroup at halftime, they come out in the third quarter with a new game plan. Go on TV and explain why the shutdown is definitely the other party's fault. Both sides claim that they're fighting for the American people. Neither side appears to notice the irony of claiming to help Americans by not paying federal workers. Eventually, by the fourth quarter, one side blinks. Usually, it's whoever's getting blamed more in the polls. They reach a deal, the government reopens, and everyone acts like heroes for solving a problem that they created in the first place. It's like putting the entire starting lineup on the bench, losing the lead, putting the starters back in, and claiming that you turned the game around. The best part of it all, during shutdowns, members of Congress still get paid. That's right, the people who caused the shutdown are the only ones getting a paycheck. It's the ultimate job security. Congress is essentially a franchise player with a guaranteed contract, a no trade clause, and is somehow also coaching the team. So who gets hurt the most during shutdowns? Great question. Well, it's definitely not the politicians. You could say federal workers because they miss paychecks, but they often end up getting back pay after the shutdown ends. You could say small businesses that rely on federal contracts get hurt the most because they just get stuck in limbo. But I would say that the national parks get hurt the most because during the 2019 shutdown, people were literally defecating in national parks because there were no bathrooms being serviced. Nothing says land of the free like turning Yosemite National Park into the Sacramento Kings. Straight doo-doo. And at what cost? Well, only about $14 billion. Yep, $14 billion just evaporated because grown adults couldn't agree on a budget. Imagine paying for courtside seats to a game that gets canceled, except you don't get a refund and everyone just pretends this is normal. The good news is that shutdowns usually end. The bad news is that we keep doing them anyway, because apparently we learn nothing from the experience. It's the political equivalent of continuing to shoot contested threes when you're 0 for 15 from beyond the arc. Government shutdowns, a uniquely American tradition where we periodically turn off our government because we can't agree on how to fund it, causing billions in economic damage and immense personal hardship, all while the people responsible for it keep getting paid. It's like the entire NBA going on strike by not playing games anymore, but somehow still collect their salaries. Alright, just don't be surprised when fans stop showing up. But hey, try not to think too hard about this, because the more you do, the less it makes sense. Kind of like paying Ben Simmons $177 million and watching him refuse to shoot. Except it's Congress refusing to govern while still collecting checks. America.